Don't fuck up. Don't fuck yourself. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rude Cooking School podcast. I'm your host, John Hauser III. And with me today is a special guy. He's a guy that cooks food. Very, very, very specific. He does have one of the grossest bone breaks I've ever seen in the history of anything in my life. He's a hater of Yelp for a fucking fact. He's a DJ. He's a lover of house music, and he is the chef at Zeke's Cafe. It's Joe Robinson. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Rudies? How's everybody doing?
Good, man. How's it going? What you doing? You got a day off today?
Today was my day off. Yeah, so I took it easy, cooked some food for the fam.
What you make?
Laid back. So I made crustless quiche this morning.
Nice.
And then we did. Well, what did I do for lunch? Oh, now you got me on the spot.
Stuffed peppers?
No, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. Okay.
Did some burgers and Hasselback potatoes for dinner.
Nice.
Something for lunch.
Just regular burgers. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing fancy.
Okay.
You know, I eat pretty pedestrian.
Most cooks do. They're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking chef anything
Right.
up. I just fucking make it. I was bummed out because the Orioles lost, and I'm not allowed to go back to Camden Yards and get one of those Fuzzy's burgers. So now I got to fucking follow their food truck around or make them myself. Have you ever had one of those things?
I still have it, man. People tell me how great they are.
Have you ever made an Oklahoma smash burger?
That's where you smash the onions into it. And
Yeah, you
everything.
shave them real fine on the fucking mandolin, and then you basically smash the onions into the burger, and then
Right.
flip it, and then caramelize the onions, and then it's two like 2.5 to 3 ounce burgers.
Right, so you get that nice crispy little
Right.
lace around the edges.
Mm-hmm. Then the cheese, and then lettuce, tomato, and then burger sauce. That's basically mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, Worcestershire, and then
Right.
whatever fuck else you want to put
Special
in.
sauce.
Right, special sauce, right? Some pickles. So it's so fucking good though. The way they make them, they got that really high heat fucking plancha thing going on. Like,
Yeah, that's the key right there
Yeah.
to get that nice caramelization, to get that.
but they're fucking making bank because at Camden Yards they're selling those bitches for $20. $20 a piece for a double smash burger.
Right, with 4 ounces of meat on it.
Right, but you get 3 beers.
I'm not saying it's not worth it.
No.
I'm just saying.
But you get 3 or 4 beers
Yeah.
in, and you're like, I want one of those motherfuckers. I don't care how much it costs. But I've been around their truck, and they've had them, and in the truck by itself, they're 15. So I'm like, all right, well, the bump up, the bump up is 5. When you're at Camden
Yeah,
Yards.
which that's a stadium bump up. That makes sense,
But dude,
I mean, I feel like these days, any decent sandwich, like $15 for any decent sandwich, unfortunately,
yeah,
is
no, you're right.
kind of a reasonable price.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, the line to get their shit though is fucking, they're 30 people deep sometimes or more. Like, good for them. That's great. So it's a good product.
all.
I'm just happy that Camden Yards is having local people, because they've had like Sally O's, and they have a pop up like little caboose thing that they just have people come in and do a weekend or whatever, and that's cool. They need more local beers, but that's all right. They still have a couple.
Yeah, I haven't been down there in a long time.
Oh yeah.
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 I'm not really a sports guy.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. After breaking your fucking wrist, you're not a sports guy anymore.
I was like, the only sports I was ever in was like, skateboarding. Then like when I was younger, I was really into like boxing and kickboxing and MMA.
Oh, okay. Sport of the
I did
future.
that for years when I was younger.
Yeah.
But now I just sit around and drink beer.
So what I was referring to, everyone, was Joe was skateboarding. What was this, 2 years ago?
I think it's probably maybe
2 or
3
3
years now.
And reliving his youth. And you tell the story.
So I was at my buddy Bill's. A lot of you probably know Bill Stevenson. He's got the tattoos and does a bunch of other cool stuff. But I was over at his place in Hamden. They have a little mini ramp in there, and there's a skateboard. I'm like, all right, I used to do this 15 years ago. I should have no problem. So, I get on the ramp and I start, going for it, and it's going pretty good for me. I'm like, all right, this is cool.
How
And
long
then
how long was it going good for?
oh, I mean, probably 10 minutes.
Okay, good. That's good. Good.
Yeah, I was trying, I built up like a very false sense of
I was
confidence.
gonna say
at
you're
that
starting to feel yourself. Yeah.
Right. And then I made and anybody who skateboards knows that this is like the kiss of death. It's like, you never say, I'm going to take one more run, right? Like, but that's exactly, I'm like, oh, I'm going to take one more run. And on that run, I dropped in and just immediately like lost my balance and fell backwards and went right on the wrist and just heard like the sound of bones breaking.
Oh no, you heard it?
Like, I knew immediately. Like, so, and then I got up and like my wrist was completely tilted backwards against my arm.
So
and I'm like, yeah, this is a problem.
So right under your wrist bone, right, is where it broke?
Yeah. So my wrist so my hand flipped all the way back onto my forearm, basically broke, through both bones in my arm there. And
so
I got plates and screws and all that good stuff now.
The picture that he put on Facebook, for those who would like a mental visual, if you remember the part in Harry Potter where he got the bones taken out of his hand and his boneless arm, they just kind of folded it on itself. That's what the picture was. It was basically his like 1/4 of his arm folded back on his arm, and it's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, it was not a good time, so then, my wife is now, permanently banned me from ever riding a skateboard again.
Yeah.
Which, probably isn't the worst thing.
No.
But I still miss it.
No, I mean, I used to skateboard when I was younger, and we would go to Arbutus all the time because it was kind of close to where I grew up.
Or the ditch, Arbutus ditch.
The skate park there.
Oh, Lansdowne.
Lansdowne. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, they're right next to each other. But we go to Lansdowne all the time, and I mean, when you're 12 and 13, you're kind of made out of rubber.
Oh yeah.
But I've seen fucking so many people just eat shit, and the problem with Lansdowne, it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. So like, if you were, hopefully, when you saw somebody get hurt, they would have had transportation, so somebody could like take them to the hospital to St. Agnes, because otherwise, like, it was like, all right, we got to go to 7-Eleven and call, because it was before cell phones. You had to walk down that fucking weird dirt path to get to 7-Eleven and call 911 and be like, somebody broke their leg again, like
accosted by BMX bikers on the way.
Oh, those fucking assholes. Yeah, because the worst part of those guys is they would fucking put like rocks and shit in the bottom of the bowl because they wanted to be the only guys running the bowl. So, and that hurt a lot of skateboarders.
Yeah.
So like I know
I hit there plenty of times too.
Yeah, a lot of guys would show up and do with brooms and shit, clean the bowl out and stuff first to keep kids from getting hurt, because a lot of kids would try their first bowl and shit, and but don't do that again. That was a rough ride.
Yeah, I think I'm in my golden years now. I think I'm gonna just take it easy.
So you're the chef at Zeke's, right?
I am. That's correct.
Can you explain to people what Zeke's is?
So Zeke's is a sort of a multifaceted business. Started off as a coffee roastery.
Mm-hmm.
Then shortly after that, they opened a small cafe on Harvard Road.
Mm-hmm.
We basically just served like pastries and little sandwiches and coffee. And then about 6 years ago, moved up to our current location, which is 4719 Harvard Road. Which is a pretty big space. Lots of tables, room for people to sit down, room for people to telework. We've got Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so now it's evolved from more of just being a coffee shop to being a coffee shop / cafe. So, we serve breakfast and lunch every day. We do brunch on the weekends. We do a burger night once a month, some things like that. First Fridays, we usually do a special.
What time are you open till?
So Monday through Saturday, we're open till 6 p.m.
Okay.
When we do burger nights, we're open till 8 p.m.
Oh, cool.
And then Sundays we're up until 5.
Nice.
So we're open 7 days a
So
week.
you're not there until like fucking 12 o'clock.
No, I'm
But you're
sort of
there
on the other
early.
end. I get there at 3:34 in the
Sure.
morning
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Oof.
But yeah, I mean, I get home usually at a reasonable hour.
Yeah.
But I just end up going to bed at like an old man at like 8 o'clock because I know I
Sure.
gotta
I,
get up in the
I'll
morning.
get you out of here before then. Don't worry about
No, we're good.
it. Yeah. So for people that are listening, Zeke's is the most famous. I mean, they're number one in coffee roasting around here. Like they got in the game years and years ago, and we're the only name in Baltimore sort of coffee roasting for years. And their product's amazing. Their roasts are awesome. They're everywhere now. Like they're in stores. I see them at Safeway. I see them at there's a place called Green Valley Market. I think they're in near me at
Yeah,
work.
yeah, we're all over the place now. The warehouse, does a lot of, retail locations.
I knew Zeke's was blown up when we took a trip to Pittsburgh, my wife and my son and I, and this was pre-COVID. It's probably right before COVID. It was like 1999, and rented an apartment. It was really nice area. Well, the place we rented was really nice. It was like this old warehouse with these fucking crazy big apartments, 30-foot ceilings and shit. But it was pretty cheap, right? But like the neighborhood was all industrial, and then right outside, Pittsburgh's very much like Baltimore. Like
Right.
you go, it's just all neighborhoods and shit. And we went to a farmer's market, and fucking Zeke's was at the farmer's market.
Right. Well, we had a Pittsburgh location for years.
Oh, okay.
It's closed now,
Okay.
but yeah. So we actually there was a brick and mortar Zeke's in Pittsburgh at that time.
Oh,
I'm
that's
sure we
cool.
were there.
Yeah. So we go, we're like, hey, we're from Baltimore. It's so cool to see Zeke's. And the girl was just like, cool. We were like, oh, come on, man. Like,
Right.
we were excited to see you guys. She's
Have
like,
you that barista energy?
yeah, she's like, do you want anything? And I'm like, no, but I don't drink coffee, but my wife does. Okay, bye. But yeah, it was really cool. And so like at the farmers market in Baltimore, as soon as we come in where we come into the farmers market, Zeke's is right as you walk in on the right, and the fucking line is 40 people deep, and it's great. Like they have it down to a science now where that line used to go pretty slow, but now they zip zap and zop everybody out pretty quick. It's great to see.
Yeah, I mean the markets are great for us. We do a lot of business, both at the downtown market and the 32nd Street farmers market,
Right.
and a bunch of other farmers markets.
Yeah,
I think go down to Annapolis and do a bunch of other ones. Like I said, the warehouse is actually technically a separate business from the cafe, but we work together.
So how long have you been how long have you been working there?
So I actually on and off probably like 7 years. I worked at the warehouse for a little while, like when I was between jobs. So Thomas, who's Thomas Rhodes, who's the owner.
Yeah, I don't know him.
We lived on the same street actually.
Okay.
Which is where, like I was telling you earlier when we were talking in Lauraville,
Mm-hmm.
right around the corner from where Zeke's is.
Sure.
So I knew him. We were kind of buddies or whatever. At that point, I was between jobs looking for a job. So I went and worked in the warehouse for a while. Then I got a job. I left. I went and worked. I was working at the MVA actually for 4 or 5 years. And it was sort of during the time I was working in the MVA that I was sort of developing, really working on my cooking skills. And I started, posting a lot of stuff on social media. And I think he kind of noticed that. And then at a certain point, he was like, do you want to, come work in the kitchen at Zeke's? And I was like, hell yeah. Especially at that point, I was really fed up with working at the MVA. That's a whole other story.
Sure.
But let's just say I'm not really cut out to be a state employee. So I was really looking for any reason to get out of there. And at that point, I really had, wanted to get back into a kitchen and, so I said, yeah. So I came to work there. That was I guess about 6 years ago now. Um, and I worked under the chef that was there previously before me for about a year and a half. He who shall not be named.
Oh, okay. I
Um,
was about to ask. Oh, okay.
uh, yeah,
Rough
we'll just
experience.
um, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you. Yeah, I'll just
Old school dickhead. Is that what you're
I'll,
saying?
I'll just err on the side of being a nice guy
Sure,
and
sure, sure, sure.
you know,
No, it's fine.
say that I'll just say that we did not see eye to eye. And it was kind of one of these situations where he was sort of planning to leave anyway because he was going off to start another restaurant.
Mm,
But he didn't like the fact that I was coming into his position, despite the fact that he was leaving anyway. Um, so we just kind of butted heads for this whole year and a half, and it was a pretty. I got, yeah, it was definitely that sort of that. I got my. I guess everybody has to work under that one
yeah.
guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you just have to take your lumps or whatever.
And
So I
that
did,
always
but it was
sucks.
always with
Yeah.
I know with me knowing, of course, that once he leaves, then it's my kitchen basically.
Sure.
And then so that's what's happened. He left after a year and a half. I started running the kitchen. That was really my first time like being in charge of a kitchen on that level. So I was kind of learning on the fly. And like it was a little, it, it was, an interesting time because right about that time, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of like having to transition from being, a sit-in restaurant to having to do, through a little crazy window that we were handing food out through to
Right.
like
Right.
to doing like packaged up meals where people could just pre-order dinners, things like
Yeah.
that. Like, but
Oh, yeah. I forgot you guys were doing that's right.
yeah, we did all kind, anything we could do
Yeah.
basically to
Anything to make money. Yeah.
right. We had to cut our, it was tough. We had to cut our staff down to a minimum, which, really was uncomfortable, because, we really are like a family there. Um, and we just buckled down and did whatever we had to do to get through it, but we got through it. So I think that was a really good, in a way, learning experience for me as a chef because I had to like really learn to be versatile and really learn to adapt to changes on the fly, like very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, things kind of smoothed out. Um, and we just kind of, slowly been transitioning more from being known as just a coffee place to being a place that, is
A
a food
destination. Yeah. Yeah.
destination.
Yeah.
So, just to talk about, you know, you know, it's on the surface, we just serve sandwiches, and I mean, we have breakfast sandwiches, we have lunch sandwiches. On the weekend, we do some fancy brunch stuff, but
But
it's more about
they're not just fucking normal sandwiches, Joe.
right. Well, that's where I was heading with it. You know what I mean? It's more about the care that goes into what's going into the sandwiches. Like
There's thought.
We're basically a 90% scratch kitchen.
Sure.
So we roast our own meats. We break down whole briskets.
I was about to say you're corning your own beef, right?
We do. We corn our own beef, and then we take the points off the brisket and we grind that and make brisket burgers with that.
Right.
We make our own lox in house.
Yeah.
We roast our turkey in house. We make all of our sides, our sauces, all
don't
that
sell
kind of stuff.
yourself short. Like fucking, you're like, oh, we're just known for sandwiches, motherfucker. You're making banging ass looking sandwiches. They look great.
I mean, I appreciate it, man. We really try hard, and I think that's been, if there's been a challenge to it, the challenge is being to try to get people to see it more as a food destination than as just like a coffee spot.
Yeah.
But I think we're succeeding in that.
No, I mean, it gets my attention when you post stuff, and the sandwiches always look banging. The ingredients always seem fresh and delicious. Like the sandwiches look good.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's all about what kind of love you put into it.
And you can tell when it's from scratch most of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, and, we have a baker in house, so that's
shit, really?
Right. So all our bagels are made in house. Our bread is made in house.
Holy shit!
Yeah, pastries, all that is in house. So yeah, I mean, and I don't think a lot, I do think that's one area where sometimes we kind of sell ourselves short, is that
Right.
I don't think we like push that element of it as hard as we should, that everything is scratch made.
Yeah, that should be on the damn menu. Like,
Right.
yeah, totally. Because especially in that neighborhood, people want, scratch homemade, not Cisco fucking bought bullshit that's
All right. Well, hey, I'm not going to lie. I still order from Cisco.
Of course you do. Everybody does. That's okay. But no, you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes down to the real shit, you're not buying a lot of the prepackaged shit.
Oh no, no. I
Right.
mean, the only kind of I mean, like other than like
condiments and shit.
we use tater tots.
Course,
you know what I mean? I'm not going to make my own tater tots.
No, nobody makes their own fucking tater tots.
Right.
You could be an asshole.
Maybe one day I'll figure that one out, but
You know what's funny? I watch Triple D like constantly, right? There have only been like 2 people in the history of Triple D that have actually made tots to where he's like, God damn, these are good tots. Like everybody else, he's just kind of like, they're tots. Good job. Like there's only been 2 people, I think, in the whole history of that whole fucking show, 8,000 episodes or whatever it is at this point, where he's been like, that's better than store bought. You know what I mean? Like, because they're fucking, they're weirdly hard as shit to make.
They are. I mean, it's almost.
I've tried to make them at home. They're fucking impossible.
I mean, French fries are almost kind of the same way, to be honest. Like,
unless you have a deep fryer, yeah.
If you ever use Simplot fries, that's a really
right.
pretty
it's a
popular
very specific,
brand.
Yeah.
But if you ever heard of them, like, it's even if you cut them yourself, man, they're not going to be better than those. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of evil black magic they use on those French fries.
It's the type of potato that they use.
Yeah, I think there's some sort of coating they put on them too, or something.
That too, but like the best restaurant fries, I forget. It's like a WM-80 or something. It's like the name of the potato. It's the fucking genetic code for the potato.
Right?
It's like a low moisture, high starch, to where you cut them, you soak them, you pre-cook them. And then you hold them and then you cook them to go, but they crisp up really nicely afterwards. You know what I mean? And a lot of things I've been seeing a lot lately is a lot of people don't even, they boil them first.
Yeah, that's garbage.
No, that's the thing, is a lot of people are boiling them first and then keeping them, and then they fry them, because the boiling coat, it gelatinizes the outside of the fry. And then when you deep fry it, the starch crisps up on the outside, and you get that weird coating. Or some people boil them and then
fry.
Right. Or some people boil them or do the first low fry, and then they roll them in potato starch, right?
Right. That I've seen before. But yeah, I mean, if I make them at home, I always do the double fry basically.
I don't even make fucking French fries at home.
Yeah.
You're fighting a losing battle at home.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think the closest I get to fries at home, like I'll do some like small mini potatoes and smash them. Well, boil them first, smash them, coat them in oil and then thyme, and then just put them in the oven for like 15 minutes at like 500 degrees and crisp them on the outside, and then you're done. You know what I mean? And that's perfectly fine. They're crispy and they taste like fucking French fries,
Yep.
Instead of fucking with all that, well, I'm gonna fry them first. Well, I'm at home. I'm not doing that shit.
Right.
Fuck that shit.
It's 7:30.
Yeah, I gotta fucking eat. My kid's hungry. So okay, let's go back a bit.
Sure.
Was Zeke's your first restaurant job?
No. So, my first job was technically a restaurant job. I worked at this is going back, I mean, way back, Homewood Deli. I don't know if you would remember that place.
No.
After that, it was Rocky Run Bar and Grill.
Oh, yeah.
But before it was
by
Rocky
Hopkins.
Run. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that I figured the Homewood part. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember Rocky Run, like when you were coming up the street, it was on the right side. Is that right?
Yeah. So, or right, correct.
Because it was a one-way street, right? Am I wrong?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's like a little one-way lane.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I never went in there, but I always saw it because when I got out of college, I worked at an art gallery in Hamden in Meadow Mill, and I had to ride around the whole city delivering art and putting art in people's houses, hanging shit and stuff. And I remember seeing that place all the time. It was always packed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a pretty popular spot back back then. But before it was Rocky Run Tap and Grill or whatever it was called, it was the home of deli, which is like this really old school, like New York style deli. You go in and like get a deli tray, and like go through the line.
Oh, okay.
And, they had the corned beef slicer and the pastrami slicer guy that like they would slice the stuff right there for you. And it was great, So I worked there. That was I think I started there when I was 14. I wasn't there long, but give me a little taste of the food business. But
yeah, that kind of job will kick your ass when you're
like,
14.
Oh yeah, and like I had this manager there that was just like was one of those kind of people that like you would sweep the floor and they'd be like, it looks like shit, sweep it again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Jesus Christ.
as a 14-year-old kid, like one of the perks for me was I got a free shift meal every day.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was just obsessed with the corned beef and everything there. So like every day, like for an entire summer, I would like, go to work, get my ass kicked, and then eat like a gigantic Reuben and order a steak fries. Like for at least, however long I worked there, it seemed worth it until finally I just got fed up.
But it felt special, right?
But the Reubens made it worth it, man.
Yeah. Like I when I was in high school, I worked at the Candlelight Inn in Catonsville, and it was the same thing. I started as a dishwasher, and I remember that first shift just getting my ass kicked. And then when it kind of slowed down, the chef comes over and he gives me a piece of quiche with a side of green beans and asparagus, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And he's like, "It's quiche," and I was like, "Oh shit, I get to have quiche." Because I lived in the city, I didn't fucking know any better. I thought it was like quiche was like rich people food, right? Not knowing it was just fucking egg, right? And then had never had green beans or asparagus that wasn't out of a can.
Right. And that's always a life-changing moment, dude, isn't it? Like I grew up on the canned and frozen stuff too. That first time you have fresh asparagus, you're like, what the fuck?
That's exactly what happened that night. I was like, this is the greatest fucking thing I've ever had in my life. Holy shit. Like the quiche was great. Like the quiche was amazing. But the fucking asparagus, I was like, what it's supposed to taste like.
I totally feel you on the vegetables. I mean, so like Brussels sprouts. Like when I was a kid, my mom would
they were the worst.
Green giant, like frozen Brussels sprouts. You had to like defrost them out of a block of ice, and for like this mushy, just terrible.
Oh, they were
like
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. But the first time I had like roasted Brussels sprouts, I'm like, what the?
Yeah, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah, so I guess then after Homewood Deli, I worked at a place called Pizza Peel, which is up on 33rd Street.
Oh yeah. I remember that place.
And then after that, it turned into Fazzini's. So I worked there both as Pizza Peel and Fazzini's.
Wait a minute, Fazzini's or Vizzini's with a V?
But with an F.
Okay, I was about to say because there's also a Vizzini's.
Right, that's a different place. Yeah,
because another of my teenage jobs was working at Subway, and a couple stores up was Vizzini's, and we would send them subs and they would send us pizzas.
Nice. Yeah, that's always good, the old restaurant trade.
Oh yeah.
But so Fazzini's, once they were on 33rd Street, and then eventually they left and moved up to like Cockeysville, and they were Fazzini's Italian Kitchen. They were up there for you. I think they're still up there, but the owners have it's been changed owners a couple times. But yeah, so then after that, I kind of left the food business for a long time. I've like jack of all trades would describe my career path, I guess. I was a real estate title abstractor for years.
Wow.
I was a commercial electrician for about 10 years.
Holy shit, dude.
I was a Volkswagen tech for about 4 or 5 years. I worked at the MVA for 4 years. I don't know. I'm probably forgetting a couple things. I sold magazines door to door once.
Wow.
That was an interesting one.
So this is where you feel most comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, this
It
has been
seems to
life changing
suit
for
you.
me, honestly. Like, it really has been life changing for me. Like, you know, they always say, like, if you find something you can do that for work that you love, then you'll never feel like you're working or whatever,
Right.
and that, like, I mean, it's obviously like it's still
Oh, of course. There are
being a
days that
chef,
kick
so
your ass,
it's
sure.
still like there's still a lot of stress and there's still a lot of, tough times that go with it. But
But
that
it's
being
no
said,
MVA.
like, I mean, even on my days off, all I do is cook, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Sure.
it's just, yeah, I mean, it feels like home,
That's awesome. By the way, I just looked it up. Fazzini's is still there. It's in Cockeysville.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Cranbrook Shopping Center.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So, okay, well then you start working at Zeke's and then like what and then you take over, COVID hits, then you transition out of COVID. What is your like sort of mission to do now? Like what is your drive? What is your like what pushes you to get better and push forward with what you're doing?
I mean, I definitely, getting through COVID, like I said, was definitely a confidence booster. I kind of felt like
Sure.
if we could do that, we can do anything. So even
Mhm.
there's been some ups and downs since then. Um, Overall, I mean, I feel like, we're still growing as a business. We're still sort of, you know, people are really still just sort of starting to realize that we're, more, have more food than they understand that we do.
Mhm.
And so I just keep trying to push that and trying to get out to more people that this is what we do, and get more people in the door, and keep improving. For me, it's always about improving all the time, and
Right.
that's improving. My staff, improving how the way we operate, and improving recipes. It's being stagnant is what kills you in this business, right?
That's where I wanted to
So,
go, and that's what I meant with the question is like, do you see a thing and go, huh, I've never made that. I'm gonna learn how to fucking make that.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
and especially the funny thing is that's kind of my days off in a way, or like the time I really get to like be experimental and try new things, and then that translates back over to work.
Yeah, it's quality
But
control time. Yeah.
most of the time at work,
Testing.
I don't have time to like,
Sure.
I'm like just in either prep mode or cooking.
But learning to make corned beef isn't like a fucking easy thing to do. You
No,
know
it
what
took
I mean?
me to get the recipe where I really wanted it. Took me about a year
Yeah.
of trial and error,
Yeah.
and like some of the early ones weren't terrible, but like I knew what I wanted it to be, and
Mhm.
like until it got there, like I just wasn't gonna sell it.
Sure.
So I just kept trying and trying, and changing little things here and there. Um, and it's funny how much of it, like there is a lot of science to it as far as like, how much pickling salt you use, what the ratio of the pickling
Oh,
salt to
without
the
a doubt.
regular salt. Um, and once I finally got it where I wanted it, like the very first one, when I made that brine and brined it and then cooked it, the first taste of it, I knew immediately. I'm like, this is it. This is the one. And it was like a very satisfying feeling for sure.
Um,
Um,
are you okay? So you're doing corned beef. Are you doing pastrami?
uh, I haven't done pastrami yet, which I keep thinking about it because I have a smoker available to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't yet. But I mean, I've done it personally. I've done it, at home, but I haven't
Right.
done it at work yet.
I mean, it's the same thing except more of a pain in the ass because of all the fucking
Right, right. I
spices.
mean,
Keeping the spices on those goddamn things is hard.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You got to slather them with mustard real good, and then
what's the hardest thing you make?
the
Like for you,
hardest thing.
what's the most labor intensive thing that you're like, this is the fucking biggest pain in the ass, but it's so worth it to make it from scratch.
Honestly, like of everything, I mean, breaking down the whole packer briskets is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's also kind of fun in a way. Like,
Oh, like big breaking down
if
the
if you
big.
enjoy working with a knife, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I would say of everything, the really biggest, just tedious pain in the ass is we make our own sausage patties.
Okay.
From scratch. So
Sure.
we use ground pork and season it and then make these patties. But like patting out these goddamn patties, man, like it's just so time consuming and so tedious. Like you got to do so many. I mean, you can imagine a place like us. Like think of how many sausage patties we go through in a given week.
And what are they? 2 ounces?
They're actually 2.75 ounces.
Oh, okay. Damn. Okay.
Yeah. They're pretty good. You know, that's another thing. Like that's sort of a trademark of us. I would say is that our portions are very generous.
Yeah, that's a pretty big patty for like a breakfast sandwich. Yeah, totally.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you
by the way, everybody, when you get like a breakfast sandwich at like fucking McDonald's, that's probably what, like 0.75.
I'd say it's probably a 1 to 1.5.
You think
ounces.
So? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, of course, it's been murdered by the time it gets on the sandwich. So, like, it probably started out at 1.5 ounces, and it's probably
most
an
places,
ounce by the time it gets on there.
Most places, as thin as they are, and as wide as they are, once they cook down, yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean that one's kind of a pain in the butt. Curing the salmon, like, it's not terrible. Like,
that's kind of just you hit it and just forget it for a couple days.
Yeah, but then you gotta do the cure part, and then you gotta wrap it and weight it, and then you gotta then it sits for a few days, but then you gotta bring it back out. You gotta rinse it off. You gotta wrap it back up again.
The slicing's the worst part.
Technically, is a food safety thing. What we do after we take it out of the cure is wrap it back up again and throw it into deep freeze for like a couple of days because
to kill whatever
any fish these days you have to worry about there being like these tiny worms basically in there, and the only thing that kills them apparently is being frozen to like -10 for an extended period of time.
No, that's good food safety. Yeah,
just from a food safety standpoint. And I've never had an issue with it, but it's just something we do to ensure that the product is
and the texture's still good. Well, it's already cured, so I guess
so it's actually interestingly so we'll take it out of the freezer, and while it's still frozen, because of how much salt content it has, even when it's frozen, it's still a little bit pliable.
Okay, gotcha.
So we'll throw it right on the meat slicer, and when it's frozen like that, you can slice it really thin.
Oh, you're slicing it on nice. Okay, you're not doing the hand slicing bullshit.
Really nice thin. Like I mean, I got this fancy Japanese knife, and for a long time I was trying to
it's a pain. It's such a fuck pain.
Yeah, I'm not a sushi chef, man.
I got a really long global that's like a ham/salmon slicer, and I break that fucking thing out maybe once a year, and when I make gravlax, and that's the only time, and then I just sit there and slice, and the whole time I'm like, fuck this shit. Fucking
it's a pain in the ass.
Fucking bullshit. But it is one of those really satisfying things when you get the right slice. You're like,
right, you get that nice bias slice.
Yeah, you're like, hell yeah, I'm doing it right. Like I used to do that at the restaurant. You sit there for fucking an hour and a half doing all these sides of salmon and shit. Like,
right. I mean, that's how I feel about trimming meat. We do our roast beef and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit OCD anyway, but trying to get all that silver skin off, man.
To drive you crazy.
Yeah, I have to look at the clock sometimes and be like, all right, I've just spent 20 minutes trying to get 2/8 of an inch of silver skin off of this thing. It's time to just say it's good enough.
No, I'm the same way. When I was a kid, they teach you a certain way and you're doing it. Then you start figuring out little tricks, or somebody comes up and tells you, oh, well, you're doing it right, but if you do this, whatever. And then, you start doing it, but the perfectionist thing starts creeping in, where all chefs are like weird OCD perfectionists, and then you catch it, and then you've been fighting with a piece of meat for 30 minutes, and then somebody has to go, dude, it's fine, it looks fine. You're like, no, but it's not perfectly smooth. It doesn't fucking matter once it's cooked, dude. It's all gonna shrink up. You're like, fine.
Yeah, my sous chef is very, very much a perfectionist, and sometimes I'll have to be like, look, it's okay, it's good, it's good the way it is. You don't have to
good is right. Okay.
We're not entering a competition barbecue thing or anything.
Yeah, don't let great get in the way of good.
Right.
And I got when I teach classes or instruct people on how to cook, like a lot of times that's the mantra, right? Don't let great get in the way of good.
Right.
You're
It's
going to make
easy to get hyper focused on things.
Yeah, because I do it all the time and I've had to learn, like, just let it go. Like, dude, it's gonna taste great. It might not look perfectly great, but you're not a fucking 5-star,
Right.
restaurant. You're a home cook. It's okay.
Right.
Let it go.
Right. You always have to think about the sort of the end destination, as you
Right.
say. You're like, right. Yeah. So you're not going for a Michelin star, then like, don't worry about it. Just make it taste good.
What's your favorite thing to make?
Oof, that's a tough question.
Okay, well then, first off, what's your favorite thing to eat that you guys make?
From Zeke's?
Yeah, from Zeke's.
I would say our Reuben. I really think, like, if there's one thing I would say to try if you're a corned beef lover, it's our Reuben. I mean, I think it's really outstanding. The rye bread is scratch made in house.
You're making rye in house.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's made with rye spelt, so it's got, it's really got a nice rye flavor to it.
So it's
nice
like rustic.
texture.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and of course the dressing is made in house. The corned beef is made in house. We're not making our own kraut right now, but maybe that's next on the list.
Are you getting kraut locally, or are you just?
No, I'm just buying giant buckets of it. But that's sort of like the one. If there's one ingredient in the whole sandwich that's not up to par with the other ingredients, that's it. But I think in balance with the rest of it, it actually.
Kraut's going to be one of those things that I can see you being like, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to start fucking making
well, I've already, believe me, it's already been kind of like percolating in my head, because we make our own pickles.
Sure. Oh, you make your own pickles?
Yeah, we make,
okay.
We do we pickle a lot of stuff, cure a lot of stuff.
Do you know Hex? Hex?
Yeah, I love their stuff, actually.
I'm sure it's probably too expensive to fucking buy for.
I think for us to, at the volume we use it at, it would probably kill us. But I when I lived closer and actually had time to go to the farmers market over in Waverly, I would buy their stuff all the time. Their sauerkraut is top notch for sure.
My son will sit down with a jar of their sauerkraut and just fucking straight eat a jar of sauerkraut.
Yeah,
and I'm like, when he was like 6, he would do that shit constantly. And I'm like, whose fucking 6-year-old sits around these fucking jar of kraut? What the fuck?
Well, I think when I was a kid, I used to really love.
I probably would have too. Yeah, the way that shit tastes. I mean, he's a salt monster, so like, I mean, it's not super salty, but he loves this, sour. Like his favorite food in the world is Kalamata olives.
Oh yeah, I love those too.
So he just dude.
Anything brined or pickled, man. Like,
yeah. And the kraut isn't super salty. It's that nice natural ferment. But that's totally a thing I could see you doing. It's just, again, it's a pain in the
Right. It's just a matter of getting it all into the schedule at this point,
right. And kraut's like one of those weird set it and forget it things, but it's also a rotational thing where it's like, all right, we got this fucking big tub of kraut. Let's see how long it lasts.
Right.
And then you got to start like, okay, we got to start this one because this one's halfway through. It's going to take 3 weeks to fucking ferment, that kind of shit. It's that weird chef shit that people don't realize. Like if you're making stuff in house, it's always the FIFO thing, the first in, first out stuff.
Right.
But like you plan that. Like it's not just like, oh, I just buy this randomly. It's like, no, I know how long this thing takes to get out of here, and I want to get the fucking thing behind it right in before that one's done. So it's fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's that's still kind of like, even at this point, it's one of the issues. We're always kind of like getting that rotation where, like, how many corned beef do you brine at a time? Like what trying to space everything so you never have any wasted product. But you don't run out of any product. Like those are I think that's some of the more tricky parts of being a chef. Really, is like the logistical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the cooking part is, in a way, I think the easy part.
Oh, without
that's the part we all love, right? What I mean? It's the cook. That's why we all do it, is the cooking, but. It's the logistics. It's the, the ordering, the cost control, the, doing, your cost calculations,
People don't even look, dude. People think chefs show up, the food's there, it's already prepped, or you had somebody prep it for you, and then you just cook. And it's like, no.
Yeah,
Not at
no,
all.
not in my world anyway. I
No,
mean,
not in any head chef's world. Like, I got a buddy who's a head chef at a place in Pasadena, and half his job is sitting there being, all right, got to cost this shit out. Like, and he introduces new things all the time, and he's like, all right, what I got to do is I make the sandwich, figure out the recipe, and then all right, how much is it going to cost?
you got to break down all the
Right,
ingredients.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
That's what I always say that, like, one of the ironies of me, becoming a chef is that, when I was younger, like, I just hated math with a passion. Just couldn't stand it. And now what do I just do math all the freaking time? You know what I mean? Like,
but it seems like you have a propensity for it. Like, it's a thing that, like, maybe you didn't realize you actually had, but is that true or not?
I'm not going to have a propensity for the math part. I think I'm pretty good at,
you've accepted it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. As far as like keeping food costs down, like that's a skill I think I've definitely,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Done well with over the years.
Is there anything that you would like to do more of? Like a place you would like to move Zeke's, like, just like your food towards?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I'd love to be able to source more things locally. I mean, we do, there's some things that we source locally, but I'd love to be able to source, say, meats from Rosita or from, from some of the other local farms. I mean, it's a little out of our price point, I think,
You just don't do enough volume.
Well, it's not even the volume so
it's
much
just
as
the
that,
price of Rosetta.
It's just the, like I said, we're still battling sort of the, people come into a coffee house, you know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha.
There's a little bit of sticker shock when they see a $15 sandwich.
Gotcha.
But part of that is they don't, like we were talking about earlier, maybe they don't understand what goes into it.
Sure.
Or, but hey, we got an 8.7 on Google, man,
Okay. So, this is perfect time.
I'm sorry, 4.7. 4.7 out of 5, right?
You fucking make me laugh so hard with how fucking much you hate on every 1-star fucking review.
Oh, I mean, look, man, here's the thing, right? If we fucked up, whatever that case may be, if we actually fucked up, I am more like, I will always take responsibility for it, and I will do whatever it takes to make that right to the customer. If you're just some crazy ass motherfucker like this, I don't know if you saw the one the other day with the cinnamon bun,
the
or
small,
whatever.
Everything was too small.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, they ate 75% of it.
Explain what we're talking about.
All right. So, this was a Google review that was posted recently. The person's complaint was they bought a cinnamon bun, and then they said it was too expensive. Now, mind you, we have a glass case. So you come in, you look at what we have, and you say, I want this one.
Right.
So
right.
They got it. They knew what they paid for.
They knew what it looked like.
Right. They knew what it looked like.
They knew how much it cost.
Took it. They ate literally 75% of it, and then took a blurry picture of their hand holding the remaining 25% of it, and wrote a 1-star Google review based on the fact that the cinnamon bun cost too much and didn't taste like cinnamon.
And they ate around the cinnamon bun to make it look like a smaller. They ate it. They ate it in a. They ate the layers away to make it look like an even smaller round cinnamon bun.
I mean,
it looked like a donut hole when they were done with it, but they ate most of it.
So I guess my issue with these people that do these kind of reviews is that I don't know if people understand, like, that this stuff actually affects people's business, but it does.
No, they don't. They do it for clout.
Right. But, if you have a legitimate complaint,
sure,
and you want to write a bad review, you'll never see me. I'm not going to jump on anybody that has a legitimate complaint.
Right.
If you're just some crackpot that wants to crap on my business, then you posted it publicly. That kind of gives me the right to respond to it.
100%.
Now, mind you, like, as an employee of someone else, like, I would never go on Google and respond there. I have to do it on my private
Sure.
Facebook page.
Right.
But I kind of feel like, I've got the right to clap back.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I
No,
don't
of
think
course.
that.
Because they're fucking idiots.
Right.
Like, dude, when you post shit like that, who are all the people that like the shit that you post when you do it? It's all fucking chefs.
Well, then,
it's all fucking chefs that know you. They're like, yeah, fuck these people.
If you looked at her other reviews, that she had, it was like McDonald's 5-star reviews. I recommend the large fry.
Right.
It's
it's like I saw a review of my wife and I are obsessed with recipe reviews on cooking sites.
Oh wow, yeah.
And there was one I saw the other day, and it was like 1 star, and it was a chocolate chip cookie recipe, and the woman's like, I'm giving this 1 star because I can't imagine having a cup of sugar and 1 stick of butter in these cookies. There's so much sugar just in the chocolate that I just made these without. I only put a quarter of the sugar in and a quarter of the butter,
right.
And these cookies turned out really, really bad. 1 star, and it's like, what?
Right, you changed the whole recipe.
What the fuck world are you living in, you moron? That's not how science works. The reason the cookies are delicious is because there's a lot of sugar and there's a lot of fat, and both of those help the fucking cookie cook the way it cooks. Like, of course your cookie turned out like shit. Like,
yeah, idiot. That's sort of the internet's great. It's got a lot of good things to it, but that's kind of the downside to it, right? Yeah. Is it it kind of takes away the checks and balances where things you wouldn't normally say to somebody in person, you feel like you can get away with saying
of course.
On the internet kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
But from a business standpoint, for me, I have a lot more respect for somebody that if they have a problem with something, they come back to the counter and say, hey, I wasn't happy with this.
And that's perfectly fine. That's what you should do.
Absolutely. That's
what you should do.
Right. And in that case, you know what? I'm going to take care of that customer in the best way I can. Right. I'll remake their food. I'll refund them their money. I'll do whatever it takes to make them happy.
Hospitality. Yes.
Right. That's the business we're in. Right.
Right.
But, some people out there are just over the top.
But slagging a small business for a thing that you knew how big it was and how much it cost, and you bought it.
That's not, I've even seen, we've had crazier ones.
Oh, I've seen. Yeah.
We've had one guy gave us a 1-star review that he even said in the review he had never actually even been in the cafe, but he drove by and didn't like the way it looked or something. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro?
It's so fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's and then the way the Google algorithm works, we'll get 10 5-star reviews. We've been at 4.7 out of 5 for years, right? Literally. And we'll get 10 5-star reviews in a row, doesn't go up. We'll get 1-star review and it goes down a point. I'm like, well, how is that a thing, Google?
Dude, we get starred for the podcast and shit. And if I say back in the day, if I said something bad about Trump and somebody would listen to it, they would immediately, they wouldn't even say anything.
Oh yeah, I bet
just one star. Fuck me up, not even a, there's no, why or when or who or wow, it's just
that's my favorite, the 1-star review with no comment,
right? And then you're just fucked. There's nothing you can do about it, and it just fucks up the algorithm, and then all of a sudden nobody listens to the podcast for a week besides the hardcores, and you're like, why isn't anybody listening to the podcast? Because the algorithm, you got a bad review, and the algorithm now says, well, we're gonna push you forward, and it's like, oh, well, I already got an explicit tag because I say fuck all the time, and whatever, it's fine. But it's the same thing. It's so frustrating. It's do you understand what you're doing actually when you just give somebody a 1-star review? Even when I get if I'm in an Uber or Lyft, because that's really the only place I really rate anybody anymore.
Right. Well, they kind of force you to.
Right. And it's bad. I still only probably give them if it's terrible, I'll still give them 2.
Right.
Or 3, just to be I don't want to fuck your shit up. Maybe you're just having a bad night. You know what I mean?
Right.
Service industry. Like everybody has
Well,
bad
see,
nights or, whatever.
I fully like, we joke about this all the time. Like, the countries where like they require you to go into the military automatically for everybody to go for like 6 months.
Sure.
I think in America, like everyone should just be required to work in the hospitality
Without a doubt.
industry for at least 6 months.
Without a doubt.
Like, I think people's behavior would change drastically.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I've worked in retail, I've worked in restaurants. Yeah, I mean, dealing with customers is one of the fucking worst things in the fucking history of the world, which is why a lot of chefs are chefs. They work in the back of the house. They don't have to deal with the front of the house. But, now that kind of meshes together with all the ratings and shit like that. So,
Yeah, I try to stay, we have kind of an open kitchen.
okay.
But I still kind of try to stay back there unless I really am demanded out front for some reason.
All right, last serious question. And this kind of goes back to what I asked you a little earlier, I think. Is there a golden goose like recipe that you're like, if I can figure that out? Is there like a thing that besides like, I don't know.
Honestly, it's not so much of a recipe, but this kind of comes with like a little bit of a story.
Okay.
So one of my sort of, I guess, like you could almost say my earliest, like first, like really big food memory, like it really made an impact on me. I had a grandmother that lived in the South. She had a place in North Carolina, and I would go down there with my father and my sister in the summer. We would stay there.
Okay.
And she was, a foodie basically. That wasn't a term back then, but
yeah.
But so she would, take me to all these different kinds of restaurants and expose me to all kinds of food. But there was this like little tiny barbecue shack that was probably 20 miles from her house. I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere, and it was literally like a shack. And you would pull up and there would always just be a line, like, at least 20 people probably in line to this place because they were only open certain hours, I guess.
Sure.
And, my grandmother, who was kind of like this stately Southern woman, would like, bustle up in line, like, and this place was like definitely kind of scrungy, a little hood, like,
yeah.
And we would go in there and like, but God damn it, the pork barbecue, like there was a, pulled pork barbecue, North Carolina style with the vinegar. They made this vinegar and pepper sauce. Yeah. And I don't know what they did to this barbecue, but, and I love barbecue, and it's something that I play with all the time. And I've been trying to recreate the exact flavor of that barbecue for what's now got to be 40 years. Wow. And I still I've gotten close, you know what I mean? But like, I still can't. I have like this very distinct memory of it, distinct memory of it. And I've never gotten it exactly the way I would like it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, especially not being able to go back and try it again. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I doubt that. I mean, who
chasing
knows? Maybe
the ghost of a taste memory. Yeah, that's hard.
But yeah, that was really like one of the first, that's one of the first times I really locked in on, like food being more than just like something you stuff in your face.
Yeah.
Like this is like an experience. This is something magical. Like,
that's funny. There was a pizza place, right before you got to Lansdowne, where Route 1 and Caton Avenue hit each other. And there was a place called Woody's. It's like a gas station now, but it was a pizza place, and it was like, like a homebrewed, basically Pizza Hut kind of joint. And they had a pizza that I've never had ever since. It was the lightest, like the crust was like, it was the first time as a kid being like, oh, I'm eating the crust of this motherfucker. Cause
right.
it was soft and it was silky and it was light, and the sauce was real light and the cheese was like, everything wasn't overdone, but it was so fucking good. And when my parents took me there, because it was kind of like basically a bar that served pizza, and they would take me there because they would like, oh, well, let's go get a couple beers outside of the city, where we would be coming back from somewhere or something like that.
Right.
And we would stop there and just get dinner. And I'm like, man, this is fucking awesome. I'm still chasing that dough.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm like, maybe I was making it up. Maybe it was like a fever dream. I don't know anymore. Because
Well, yeah, I mean, I think sometimes definitely like your brain lies to you.
Oh
Like,
yeah, without a doubt.
like I'll give you, maybe not the best example, but like, so, uh, I used to go visit my father in summers, and he lived in St. Louis for a
Okay.
while. So I go out to St. Louis, and back then, like the McRib wasn't available on the East Coast. They're
Mhm.
like you just couldn't, they didn't have it. But I go out there, and they had the McRib,
Okay.
and like this is when I was 10 or 11 years old or
Sure.
something at this point. But I thought the McRib was like the best fucking thing I ever ate, man. I ate the McRib, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is like the best sandwich ever. And
Yeah.
then I'd come back here and I couldn't get it, and then I'd go out there in the summer, and for a couple of years I would get the McRibs, and like when you're at that, let's say my palate wasn't very fully developed at
Of
that point,
course.
I would say, but I was like obsessed with the freaking McRib. And then later on my father moved, so I stopped going out there and getting the McRib, and then I guess whatever how many years ago they introduced it here,
Yeah.
right? Now I'm a grown man, and I'm like, oh my god, the McRib is back. So I go get one, and I'm like, one bite of this thing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? How awful is this thing? Like,
I will tell you, you're not crazy. They completely changed the recipe.
really?
Yeah, from what it was,
Interesting.
whatever meat they were using at the time when they first introduced it, it was actually like, basically,
Some part of a pig.
yeah, it was basically, ground pork that was shaped into the McRib shape and then cooked and then re-griddled at McDonald's. Now it's something, it's basically like that slurry shit, like
All right, so I'm not okay.
no, you're not crazy.
Makes me feel better, John.
It's a different recipe. Whatever the herbs and shit too that they were using was completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like I felt like I wasn't eating the same thing at all. So now
you're not.
I know I wasn't.
Yeah, you're not at all. We covered this on one of the episodes years ago.
I wish I had listened to that one. I would have felt much better. Like I've been troubled by this for years.
Yeah, no, you're not crazy at all. It tastes wrong because it's completely different. Because they knew that introducing it into different parts, nobody had a taste memory of it. So they were just like, fuck it. Everybody was gonna buy it because of the hype, right? Because they're like, oh, we're bringing the McRib back, and people are like, oh shit, I've never had a McRib, and then they eat it and they're all underwhelmed, and then they're like, okay, we're only gonna sell it for fucking 2 months, and then we're gonna get rid of it for a couple years, and then we're gonna fucking bring it back to
foist it on you again,
right? Because then people's taste memories change, and again, there's so much sugar in a lot of that stuff that kids love it. So much salt and sugar that kids are just like, this is hitting all my taste sensors, that kind of shit. But yeah, you're not crazy. So.
Oh, well, thank you, John. I do feel better. Like,
it was funny because I watched a video the other day that someone was like, you know what? Fuck a McRib. This is how you make a McRib, and they basically made a rack of ribs.
Yeah,
in the
oven, I think I saw that
and
one.
And then cut, the ribs. Take the bones out, and then you cut it and you put it on a sandwich.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's the sandwich. That's the fucking real sandwich because that shit tastes amazing. All right, one more question.
All right.
I hate to break it to you. You're gonna die tomorrow. I'm not gonna tell you how it's gonna happen. You can, whatever. I'm sorry, but
that's been a good run.
Yeah, broken a couple bones. You listen to a lot of house music. You DJ'd a bunch. You've made some awesome food. You made a lot of people happy. But tomorrow is the day. What is your last meal? It can be as complicated or as simple as you want. You can include dessert. You can include drinks. What are you having for your last meal?
Ooh, it's a good question. It's definitely going to be something beef. I'm a beef obsessed.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So
we go
probably
okay.
porterhouse steak grilled over wood.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, that's what.
Some really nicely made mashed potatoes, and not crappy mashed potatoes. I mean properly made mashed potatoes
Mhm.
where they're at least as much butter as potatoes in there.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like some nice,
You're like
like
fucking
French style,
Joel
really.
Robuchon fucking
Yeah, some
potatoes.
Robuchon mashed
Yes.
potatoes.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Uh, and then some grilled asparagus with hollandaise.
Nice. Yeah. Dude,
No, probably skip dessert. I'm not a big dessert guy.
are you a cheese guy?
Well, you know what? If I'm gonna die, right? I'm gonna die anyhow. So you know what? I'm gonna go key lime pie. That takes me back.
Really? Oh shit, I didn't see
That
that
takes me
coming.
back to
Wow.
uh, my grandmother again.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
from my
yeah, yeah.
grandmother.
No, that's
Uh, yeah, one of the few desserts I actually like, really, especially if it's actually real key
key
lime
lime.
pie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that always sort of hits it for me. So yeah, we'll do the key lime pie, and then I would say like nice endless supply of vodka and soda.
Okay, is that your drink?
I mean, I'd say it's a good way to get a nice, refreshing way to go out.
Awesome. That's a really good last meal. Especially over the wood with the fucking big porterhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I think porterhouse is a highly underrated steak.
Yeah. People don't understand how fucking I mean, because a porterhouse is like two different steaks, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Two
you
or
got
three
your
different steaks.
filet, you got your.
Yeah. So that's a good one. Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
John.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ruby listeners.
Tell everybody where to find Zeke's.
Zeke's Cafe is at 4719 Harford Road in Lauraville. And we are open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. and Sunday 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. and Sunday 8 a.m. until 5 p.m.
Yeah, man. Yeah, stop by and say hi to him.
Yeah, come grab a sandwich, say hi.
That'd be
I
awesome.
don't bite usually.
Well, cool. Thanks again, Joe, and thank you,
John.
thank you everyone for listening to the Rude Cooking School podcast. We don't pay for advertisement, so word of mouth is how we get around. So please tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your pets, tell your hamster, tell the mouse that's sitting in the corner. Yes, I know you have mice. Join the Facebook group. Joe's there. We all fucking hang out. It's actually the best place on Facebook. Nobody argues. We all have a really good time. We share dumb videos or dumb memes, or people have legitimate cooking questions, and people like Joe answer the questions and help each other out with, like, home cooking questions. It's really fun. It's a great place to be. Besides that, I'll see you next week with the Rude Cooking School podcast. For the Rude Cooking School podcast, my name is John Hauser III. Don't yuck my yum.
All right, guys. Joe Robinson saying, I'm out.
Peace, everybody.